All right, I want to document something that's happened. And we can decide whether or not that's going to project the future or not. Doesn't really matter. You guys can make up your own mind on this. I thought, let's look at who the most consistent players have been. And I'm not going to rate them. I'm going to go through them in alphabetical order. And I'm going to do forwards and defensemen first. Forwards and defensemen together, because it's just points per game. And then we'll look at goaltenders. So I restricted this to 0.05 points per game difference over a 3-year period. So over 3 seasons, these guys have been remarkably consistent. So the first one on the board is Columbus Blue Jackets forward Oliver Bjorkstrand, who 16-17, 17-18, 18-19, and then we get into the difference. His points per game, 0.50, 0.49, 0.47, for a difference of 0.03 points per game. That's remarkable. That is remarkably consistent. And then we get into, so is he going to have a breakthrough, or is this who he is? And that's where, if you're in a hockey pool, you have to make up your mind. Sometimes you'll have to take that jump, that leap of faith. Sometimes you like, nah. If you want remarkably consistent as well, TJ Brodie of the Calgary Flames. This is the overall winner if you're looking for a guy who is the most consistent. Brodie, 0.44, 0.44, 0.43 for a difference of 0.01. So he's going to score 0.44 points per game this year. I'll go out on a limb and say that's likely where he ends up. And that should be your projection. Now, again, over an 82-game schedule, guys are going to have their ups, their downs. But in general, it's going to stay remarkably the same. Staying with defensemen, going to Arizona. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, remarkably consistent as well. So if you're looking for a huge breakout from him, it's maybe slowly coming, but it's only a 0.05 difference from 16-17. He had 0.49 points per game, goes to 0.51, and then to 0.54. So very gradually, his points per game is going up. At some point in time, it likely just levels off, but who knows? Maybe he ends up at 0.57, 0.58 this year. And we'll be talking about him again next summer. Also staying with defensemen. And again, this is just by alphabetical order. Because I have a theory. And someday I'm going to share with you guys the theory about why I'm doing some of these list videos. Noah Hanifin has been very consistent. And consistently frustrating to some who expect more out of him. But maybe this is who he is. 0.36 points per game, 0.41, 0.41, for a difference of 0.05. And no difference whatsoever between his last year with Carolina and his first year in Calgary, points-wise. Again, this doesn't speak to overall game. Maybe a player gets better defensively, but the overall points, if you're in a hockey pool, you're likely looking at points. Hanifin, maybe that's what he is. So, looking further down the list, Dmitry Orlov. He's kind of going the other way. But again, there's a lot of consistency there. From 0.40 to 0.38 to 0.35. So a difference of 0.05. Remarkable. Honorable mentions so far. Arvidsson has had a difference of 0.07 between his best and worst seasons. His best was this year. Justin Falk, 0.08 difference in his. Boone Jenner, 0.08. Erik Karlsson, 0.07. Chris Kreider, 0.07. JT Miller, 0.08. And Tyler Myers, 0.06. So you can see these guys were close, not quite on the board. Next up is Kyle Palmieri. So it kind of felt like Palmieri was having a breakthrough year this year, and then it kind of fell off for him. But you know what? Falls right in line with career average. At the end of the year, 0.68, which is right about an average between 0.66 and 0.71. Overall, the difference is 0.05. So again, he had a really good start, kind of fell off when the entire team went cold, but he ends up at 0.68. So there may be people who say, hey, this is a big year, he's going to bounce back, he's going to have a great year, he's going to be way higher than this. And the Hockey News has him finishing with many more points. But if you're more guarded, you might look at this last 3 years and go, I'm going to hold off. Now, when people were talking yesterday about a player that they felt I should have had in the category of a guy who's scoring less, Joe Pavelski, but you're just looking at his goals, then I can understand people looking going, well, Pavelski's not going to score that many goals again. It doesn't matter. Pavelski gets you points. I feel like I'm talking like Moneyball here. 0.84, 0.80, 0.85. His points per game only was 0.05 points per game higher than the year before, where he had 22 goals and 44 assists. So no, odds are he doesn't score as many goals next year for Dallas, but his points totals should remain relatively consistent. The fact he's in his 30s might give you more pause, but that's another video I did this morning. We don't need to get in that right now. Next up, a guy who's been in the news a lot. Going with Buffalo's Ristolainen here. Rasmus has been remarkably consistent. A gradual clawback. And I know, people are going to say, well, he had the worst plus-minus in the league. Yeah, he did. But his points, if all you care about is points, if plus-minus isn't part of your fantasy, 0.57, 0.56, 0.55, a difference of 0.02. So he is the most consistent point producer per game behind TJ Brodie. Not bad. Not bad for a guy that a lot of people like, oh, he's not playing very well. Now, the most remarkable one of anybody in the NHL, because he's not scoring at a half a point a game, he's scoring at a point a game, and that's Mark Scheifele. 1.04, 1.00, 1.02 for a difference of 0.04 points per game. You can set your watch by Mark Scheifele's scoring. He is that consistently on point, as in 1 per game. And in this day and age, that kind of consistency is insane. No other high scorer in the NHL is that consistent. They have fluctuations from year to year, and certainly there are people who are not happy with my predictions on who might fluctuate up or down. Not saying that anybody's going to be a disaster, just, yeah, sometimes your points fluctuate wildly. And Scheifele's don't. Now, next up on the list is another guy who's been very, very consistent. Jacob Slavin, not known as a huge point scorer, likely never will be, but remarkably consistent defenseman whose totals are 0.41, 0.37, 0.38 for a difference of 0.04. Very consistent defense and offense with Slavin. That's why they love him. Also, staying with the Carolina Hurricanes, Jordan Staal. Jordan Staal, he's trending down, but very, very slowly. So if you look at the overall numbers, you might say, well, he was injured last year, he'll have a bounce-back year. But his points per game were very consistent. From 0.60, 0.58, 0.56 for a difference of 0.04. So Staal, very, very consistent player. Another consistent player, and again, we're going alphabetical order here, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, who I don't think had his strongest defensive year last year. But you know what? The offensive numbers, remarkably consistent. 0.37, 0.40, 0.35 for a difference of 0.05. Yep. And the last player, one that I said may very well have a fall this year. For Carolina again. It's funny how many of these guys are Carolina, isn't it? Williams. 0.60, 0.62, 0.65. He's actually trending into the positive. 0.6, 0.62, 0.65. So maybe 0.67 when he comes back and he proves me wrong, proves everybody wrong, and at age 37 tears up the league and moves up the chart. So those are your forwards and your defensemen. So I said, all right, what about goalies? How about goalies? How do goalies compare when you look at them season over season, and who's the most consistent? So again, I'm not doing them in any particular order other than alphabetical. So first up is Toronto's starter, Freddie Andersen. And these numbers are derived from the Hockey News pool guide, and I use that because you could find consistency with players who don't score very many points, but this is more of, you might pick him in your pool. So Freddie Andersen, his save percentage, which is the number I went with for this, has been remarkably consistent .918, 918, 917 for a difference of .001. Yeah, Freddie Andersen can be relied on for a save percentage of right around .918. So he flirts with .920 at certain points of the season. Sometimes he looks like, hey, he's going to get into the race for Vezina. By the end of the year, he's a pretty good goaltender, a little bit above average, and remarkably consistent with save percentage. Next up, Brian Elliott. Yep, Elliott's been very consistent as well. .910 save percentage in 2016-2017, .909 the year after, .907 last year, for a difference of .003. Now, you can point out, and you'd be right, he's trending in the wrong direction. But it's still very little difference between .907 and .910. And so for Elliott, that's what you're getting. And odds are, if he provides .910 as a save percentage as a backup to Carter Hart this year, I think Philly's pretty happy with that. Markstrom. You know what's remarkable about Markstrom is I think he had quite a breakout season this last year. And he kind of made a believer out of me. And yet, his save percentage hasn't changed. From .910, that first year, to .912, both 2017-2018 and 2018-2019, for a difference of .02. So the eye test, and me as a fan, says Markstrom's better, but if you're looking at it strictly from a point of view of somebody who's looking, going, all right, who do I want to put into my fantasy pool? Markstrom's numbers didn't get better. They stayed the same. So that's where you look and you go, okay, I guess he had a good year, but it doesn't show necessarily in save percentage. Next up, I only did 5 goalies, so don't worry, this isn't going to go to a second board. Tuukka Rask. Remarkably consistent, although I thought he had a bit of a down year before the playoff run that kind of makes things look great. .915 in 2016-2017, .917 the year after, .912 the year after that, for a difference of .005. That is, again, remarkable consistency with goaltenders. Honorable mention with a goaltender is Nyquist, who went .910, .914, .907 for a difference of .07. Also, other honorable mentions. Colton Parayko, .08 difference. Vlad Tarasenko, .08 difference. James Van Riemsdyk, .09 difference. Jimmy Vesey, .08. And Shea Weber, .08. So when people talk about Weber and maybe he's going to fall or maybe he needs to have a rebound. No, he was actually fine. In fact, Weber put up more points per game this past season than he did the 2 years prior. A little bit less than the year before or the year after, but really it's not a big difference. All right, and last name on the board is one that people are kind of hoping to see a comeback from this year. But Corey Schneider's numbers would tell you what you see at the end of the year when all the numbers are factored in, might be what you get. So from a .908 save percentage to .907, and this past season a .903 for a difference of .005. Now, he may very well end up being back at a .908, and maybe being healthy, he can push back into the .910s or the .920s. But, again, if you look over the last 3 years, it would tell you he's from .908 to .903, remarkably consistent. So there you go. Just looking at players who are insanely consistent when it comes to their point totals per game, just per game. I'm not looking at overall point totals, just per game, and what you can probably expect out of them this coming season. Let me know which player on this list that's been so consistent is going to have a huge boost or a huge drop. Let me know which goaltender you think is going to have a huge boost or a huge drop. Or, yeah, no, these guys are going to be consistent and it should stay the same. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I'll talk to you again soon.